Right, we should be live in approximately 3 seconds. And I misspelled the title. Hello everyone, how's it going? Today I'll be making some cool kind of particle effects using 3.6's simulation nodes. So I'm just gonna make sure that the title is correct. Yep, that seems to be right for now. So, game plan for today. Pretty simple. I'm going to make curved lines that spawn attached to an object of our choice, and then kind of arc out from the character. Kind of like a lightning effect, a lightning arcing effect that I made in the past. But this time, simulation node based. We'll see how this goes, because it could look a lot better or a lot worse. We'll go and see which it'll be. So let's add in a simulation zone. So hopefully make this as simple as possible. That's the goal with this. Let's try to make this as simple as possible. So the thing that I'll need to do is, let's first get the logic going for this. So I'm going to join in a curve line to this object, but I want it snapped to the vertices of this object. So this will be interesting, because I'm going to try it again the simplest way possible, and then I'll complicate it later. I'm going to set the position first. And this will be from the proximity to the object. So we're going to do that. I don't know how I'm going to do the randomization of it, but we'll see. So we do that, so we should now see... Okay, something's offset. That needs to be set to relative. Okay, so now we have one line being joined in every frame. Alright, but we need to, the title, is it misspelled? Making simulations. I think I corrected it from when I first started the stream. So, for the source position, instead of it being just the position of the curve, I'm going to randomize it in a 1 meter by 1 meter area. Eventually, I may just spawn in the curve on the surface, but again, simplest way first, and then I'll complicate it later. So here, yeah, we can see that's partly working. Let's do that. And let's not go into the negatives here. Let's make this like that. Okay, there we go. So we can see that this is working, drawing curve lines all throughout the whole place. Let's put this in a frame, move that down, put this in a frame, move that down. So, next thing on the list. So I want noise affecting this. So fortunately for us, this will be pretty easy. In this case, I don't think I'll be using velocity. I may do that, but for the time being, I'm just going to use a vector mat subtract node, and then I'll scale this to make it affect the offset. But we're going to see a problem here, that it just moves the splines like that. That's a problem, because I want it to, have some resolution. So let's resample the curves so that they all have 150 points. There we go. So now we can see the effect is starting to take shape. Still has some issues, which I'll go and iron out. But what should be the next thing? Let's see, what was oh right, the age. I need to make it so that these do not last forever, that they actually die. So let's store the named attribute, which will be the age, and then reference the age attribute, which for the first frame does not exist, but then gets set, and then every single frame, it goes up by 1. So that's the age parameter right there. And then we need to delete the splines if the age gets too high. So let me use a greater than node. If the age gets above, let's do 15. Let's set the simulation to work on 30 frames per second. Let's do that. Or maybe 25. So, actually no. For 1 second. They'll be around for 1 second. So here we can see that the stuff starts up, then goes. So the few problems that we can see here, let me select this so that we can see it much better on stream. So problem one is they're appearing to not be as randomized as I would like. So what if I did something a little bit different? Let's use a sample index node and sample a random vertice position. That might be a really bad idea. Let me try it, and then I'll decide if it's really dumb or not. So we just do that, because I'll need to, yeah, figure out the domain size. So here, okay, yeah, this might be a really bad idea. Let's see. Does it feel, it's not feeling more random. Okay. That would be good if the armature was moving, but in this case, I think we're fine. So let me change the noise to see what happens. That may be another little problem. I think we may need to use velocity in this one. But before we get that going, I want to add in a little bit more complexity to all this. So I want to make it so that it stays connected to the mesh. Or more accurately, the parts that are at the ends do not move. Fortunately, that's fairly simple. We use the spline parameter. In this case, I'll use a float curve because I can get a better fall off with this. To say, hey, in the middle, the scale will be normal, and at the ends, it'll trail down to 0. So now if we do that, we can see that the cache. For some reason, the cache doesn't auto-update with every single change I make, which is very annoying. And I cannot turn off the cache because of that bug. Actually, there's no input geometry, so I think I could turn it off just fine. Okay. Since there's no input geometry, I can disable the cache and we should be fine. Yep. Okay. So other things that I may want to do is, one, make it so that the noise texture is randomized per spline so that we don't get parts that are clumping up, like right there. Do I stream on Twitch? Nope, just YouTube. I have a following here, so this is where I stream. So to give all of these a random value, I think I'll need to store a random value and then just offset the noise by that. So another layer of complexity, but it's fine. So here, we'll set this per spline. Let's have this be random. And this is before it gets joined into the sim. So every frame, a new one is being spawned in. And like with this one, I need to hook up the frame into there. And it should be fine. Now that we have this random value, we can offset. Yeah, this is getting complicated. But gradually, so it's all fine. I should be labeling this. So this is random snap to object. There we go. This is new curve mesh. And I should separate the random value into another one. So here we go, just like this. Keep it organized, and then life will be easier. So this will be age, and this will be delete. I was gonna say death, but, you know, delete sounds... That's how you spell delete, yeah. This sounds better, more technical. Then there's resample, but that's self-explanatory. So here we reference the position, which it's already doing automatically, but since we want to edit this, then it goes like that. And then we take that random value, which is set, and then we multiply it by a lot, feed it into there. Then we should see that with this, we're already at 9 minutes. This is why I do not record regular tutorials anymore, because these things take a long time. Now we should see that none of them go in the exact same place. Now we have something a lot cooler happening. But I do think I'll have to make it so that the splines work a little bit differently. But this isn't bad. It's kind of like lightning, but not quite. So a few things that I may want to do as well is... Yeah, okay, looks like we'll need to do that. Another layer of complexity. I want to reference the normal of the object, of our human object right here, store it, and then use it later for the offset. So that it's not you know, just going anywhere. It actually has to go out from the center of the person. So to do that, I'm going to store this only on the first frame. This will be normal. And then I will sample nearest surface. Sample nearest surface, just to use less nodes. Tripping over myself a little bit, but should slow down just a little bit. There we go. So now that we have the normal stored, let me go and move this back. There we go. Put it in its own nice little box. The boxes are the workflow. It's the way to go. Normal from mesh. There we go. So that's it. Let me put that into a frame. I'm not going to label these yet because they will go through quite the change. But I do know that the final scale should be outside of there. So I'm going to add in that normal to the noise because the vector faces out from where this is. So it'll send these out. And I'm going to mix between the two. And I'm going to scale this one as well. I may change this, but this is for experimentation. So let's flip it all the way to the normal. So here we can see this happening. Which the curve is a little overzealous. So I'm going to do that to get a more natural feeling. And we're seeing a lot of the curves end up at the same place, which I'm not the happiest about. And I think that's just a result of the curves going everywhere, so they like to hit at the end points of the object. You can see as I start mixing it up even more, that we start to get more noise happening. Which if I turn this up, there we go. But I'm going to keep it at the normal, because I am going to make the improvement to the curve spawning. So, I'm going to... Here, let's make another system and then I'll just supplant it. Yeah, that's the word. Okay. So, let's go and reference this. I'm going to distribute points on faces. This will have to be randomized every single frame. But this will, yep, do that. Let me make it so that it updates every single frame. So it's just like do. We don't want that many happening, so less. Maybe this is a bad idea. Well, I can replace it easily. So now we instance on points, which I will instance the curve line. So that we can now see, well, I'll need to edit this a little bit. Do 0.1, or no, 0.2 and negative 0.2. There we go. 0. And we plug in the rotation for there, just so that's aligned with the surface. So we can see that that's happening. I may need to randomize the rotation a little bit more. Let's see. Yep. And then I will realize the instances, and then I could just plug them in here. So now, if we look at the sim, we should see this may start lagging because there's so many being... Oh, right, there's... Yep. I'm going to turn off the random location. So now we can see they're spawning in where they kind of should be. Let me set this to 0.025. There we go. So now we can see the arcs are doing their thing. And working pretty well. So if I mix in more noise with it... And then let's scale up the noise, maybe a bit more detail as well. We can see that that's happening and looking pretty cool, if I do say so myself. And then I can change the random scale of these, the random rotations, just to make it better. But this will need its own section because it'll get a little bit complicated. So let's take a look at this. We can see that all of these are pretty horizontal. I don't want that. Let's change it. So let's use rotate Euler. Yeah, we can do an axis angle for this. So if we do this, we should see... Wait a second, I'm getting confused. Wait a second. Yeah, it should be rotate Euler. Ah, there we go, okay. I was on the wrong axis. So we want this to spin around here so that we get more randomness with all that. Let's get one. Something's off. Local. Oh, there we go. Just a little brain blip. Now we wanted it. Okay, there we go. I knew something was off, but my brain didn't quite realize it. So here, I don't think I need to put the scene time into there, because, you know, it works just fine. But now we have random things happening there, and I think I'll set this to 0.5, just so that we get less of those firing off at once. Let me put this into a frame. I could have a random scale as well, but I don't think we need that just yet. So here we go. Tons of these spawning in every single frame. And then I'll... Let me just... Yeah, that should be fine. Now let's go over to here. Again, this is getting big. Welcome to GeoNodes. At least on the sim side. Like, everything has a very simple function, but it just takes up space. Space and time. So here we have this happening, and I'm still debating on whether to add velocity to this. Still debating. So now let's add some wind, just to see what happens. And it won't be accurate wind, again, because of the lack of actual velocity. So if I want these to kind of raise up over time, be kind of like arcs. I'm very, very, very tempted to add in velocity. It wouldn't be difficult. I'm going to try it. Okay, another layer of complexity. So, for velocity, it just means that it keeps a bit of its speed over time. So to implement that, we go and reference the velocity from the previous frame. We can scale it down so that it doesn't keep speeding up forever. We add the new velocity into it, plug that in here, then we put that into there. And then boom, we are now preserving its speed from the previous frame and keeping it. So we should see here, we have something a little bit different happening. But it's working a bit more accurately to real life. Let's see, let's bring this down. Another thing, since it's velocity, you need to, you know, compensate for that. Because in the previous ones, you know, with this, the speed is accumulating. But now, if we were to add in some gravity, wind or gravity, it would now work accurately. Even though this is, so here we can see that things are falling. That's a bit more of a spaghetti effect. But here we go. Now it looks like it's actually rising. I know the previous one did. Velocity is more accurate, so we'll stick with that. Yeah, it should be fine. Let's go and make this a bit rougher by upping the detail to 300 points per spline. Yeah, that's alright. Or maybe, let's try setting this to length. 0.01. Just to see if that gives... No, it gives pretty much the same look. Which I'm actually pretty surprised by. I thought it would give a much different feel, a different vibe. Could add in some elasticity, but I don't think that's needed. So let's turn off the... Let's start meshing this, finalizing the look of this effect. So let's go and bring this back to the count, set it back to 150. Yeah. Okay, now let's develop the look for this effect. Oop, loading up shaders. So we could just do lining, or we can try doing something a little bit better, fancier. Let's try, you know, different vibes for the noise. I could just disable the noise. Well, that's looking cool. Unintended, but cool. Yeah, okay, let's tone it down again. And then 0.05. Turn up the detail again, because I do want some detail going around. Let's set it to 10. What happens? Okay, it just gets messy. So, maybe around 4, which is what I had previously. Okay, let's get to meshing the effect. Let's put that into a frame. That into a frame. So this is just velocity. There we go. Now over here, let's bring this over and then use a... What should we have this time? Let's do a curve to mesh. And then let's use a curve line. Okay, we can see that's working, just a little too well. I think we want this to be kind of like that. I'm essentially going to be making a card to put a texture on later. So let's go and use a set material node to set material to this. In this case, material 1. Let's set this to be emissive and set it to 0. That looks cool, a little bit like the spot from Spider-Verse. Maybe I'll go for something like that. We'll see. So I'm going to make these a crisscross pattern so that we don't, it will be much harder to see, oh, it's just a ribbon. So let's just do that. Then for texturing will be interesting. Again, the nodes are piling up, and they will keep piling up, because that's just what happens. Like, it would be nice if I kept node groups to make this easily, but I'm making this all from scratch. So, we'll see. So, to texture this, I need to store named attributes once more. One for the gradient along the spline, and one for the one across the profile. The crisscross. So I'll have this as gradient X and gradient Y. There we go. Oh, let's make that capital Y. So for this, I'm going to put the spline parameter for both, so that we get the gradients for both. Let me put this into a frame. If nothing else, it just makes it look more organized. Speaking of organization, I'm going to set this to 1, -1, and I'll set the radius instead so that I can collapse these nodes. So it'll be like that and that. Crisscross pattern. Hopefully that doesn't confuse anyone, but I'm going to set the radius to be more like this. Nice. Set it to 0.25, no, 0.55, because I want to try and see how good I can make the textures look. So now that we go into the material, or the shader, either or, we get gradient X. Whoops, forgot to put in the X. So now we should see that we now have that gradient showing up in the shader editor. But now, if we get gradients Y, we'll get the one that's on the crisscross. Also nice. So from here, we can combine these two to make a UV map for these curves. So I can go and let's hide all the unused sockets just to keep things nice and clean. Throw in a vector math node so that we can scale this, and let's put in a noise texture. 2D. And another thing, we'll have to randomize this so that per spline it's all different, but let's just get this functioning first. Then I'm going to use a greater than node to mix between the emission, which is, let's set this to 1 and set it to black just so that it's a little clearer what's happening. And then use a transparent node, mix between those. and plug it into there. There we go. Trim curves by age. I have a better thing in mind. Instead of having to rely on the mesh changing, I'll use the shader. So here we can see. There we go. We now have something cool happening. But we'll need to make it so that the gradient, you know, they don't just cut off at the ends. They're more concentrated at the middle than at the end. I'm not liking the noise, so let me go and turn that off so that we can focus more on the textures. So there we go. So now we can see that's happening. And maybe let's tone it down even more. Yeah. It is a shame that the texture does not scale as I would like it to, but it's fine for now. It's fine for now. J, and we can make the texture disappear with age, but I'm going to hold off on that for a second. Let's use the crisscross parameter, or attribute in this case. Set it to ping pong, and then multiply by 2 so that the middle is set to 1. Or maybe I'll use the color, map range, we'll see. But then we're going to mix between these two gradients before it goes into the greater than node. So that we can change... Oh no, wait, let's make this less than. There we go. Now we can see that we can edit how concentrated these things are. So now, here we go. We can see that this is happening. And I think I want to make this even more grand. So I'll need to improve the radius. So geometry nodes, let's up the radius. Double. So we can see that's happening. Let's bring this up. Keep it moving. And then I can move this down. Oh, right. Yeah. So I can keep this going until it just feels right. It's still feeling a little too globular, if that makes sense. We do that. Okay. Maybe I need to set this up differently. So instead of a mix, I can use a linear light so that I can set the kind of mid... Is that enough, though? I mean, still, it looks fine. But just... It's like I can do that, and then... Like here, I set the radius, and then I set the kind of mix factor. So here we have... I'm not too sure about it. Let's check the lightning effect, the lightning version of this. So I can do that, set it like that, then change. And it looks like I'll need to implement that randomness per, random texture per spline. Oh yeah, there we go. That's lightning. But yeah, we're going to, yeah, not quite lightning because, you know, textures and all that. It's getting there. It'll get there eventually. Even though I'm not going for lightning, I'm going for the kind of ethereal feel. The void. What was he doing? Oh, right. Random... Yeah. I'll add this in right here. So I need to get that random value, which I just labeled random. Very creative, Ben. But, you know, it works. I multiply it by like 1,000 to offset the texture by a random value. So now all of these will have a different texture appearing. So it won't all be the same. Something's wrong with the simulation. I need to go in and, I need to fix that. So let's fix it. Vibe is wrong now that we have the textures, so let's fix the vibe. So here it's just noise. Oh, no, wait. Instead of mixing, let's just add these. It's simpler. I can affect each one without it weirding out all of it. Collapse that. And let's try the gravity. So now we can see a few things. One, let's turn off the normal so that we can just see that part happening. Okay. Few more things. I think it's time to implement the age fading. But also let's go and tone down that and tone down the anti-gravity. There we go. Now we have a much more wispy effect. But I feel like the radius... I can affect the radius by the parameter. If I bring this in... Let's... Yes, the node tree is way too big at the... Well, not way... Everything in here is necessary. But we just keep adding in stuff that's more and more necessary every single time. It's feature creep. That's what it is. So now here, the middle will be thin, but the ends will be... Oh, that is interesting. Yeah, that's giving... Yeah. That's giving a bit more of the effect that I wanted, even though I'll need to make it so that the ends are fading. Oh, dear. Oh, I know why that's happening. I need to subdivide the curve by 1 so that there's a middle vertice. Subdivide. Okay, no, let's just resample the curve to 3. That'll put 1 part in the middle. So we can see that it went down, but if we keep doing that, it gets even better. I'll set it to 3. We can edit it later. Yeah, it's... The vibe is still off. By a bit. Let's get the vibe right. So... And the curves are twisting, which I'm not a fan of. So, unfortunately, we cannot set the curve normal to be a custom vector, at least without great difficulty. So I'm going to set curve normal to be z up, which will lead to a few twisting errors, but in this case, it'll be fine. So here we can see that things are not twisting quite as much. We do get parts where they spin around, but it should be fine. I should make it so that they fade out at the ends. I need to fix the vibe, man. Okay, let's set it so that there's a lot more of the... Oh, goodness. Yeah, there's too many of those spawning in, so let's go back to 1. I need to make the shader better instead of trying to change up all this. So, back to the shader editor. And is the noise is too much. Let me go and switch this. This is the part that will arguably take up the most time. The customization. Because it's like, oh, you want that? No, what you really want is this. Oh, wait. I found a new thing to try out. So here, let's turn down the mix factor so that these are a bit more... There we go, that's a bit better. It's alright, but it needs to be better. I really want... Maybe I could try using voronoi. It's looking okay. How big... Oh yeah, I forgot how big the radius is. So I can just... And I can change this to an alpha blend as well. So that's not just a harsh cutoff. Vibe's wrong. Vibe's wrong, man. it to 2. The texture's warping with it, which I kind of want, but it's still not right. Let's implement the age. Age. There we go. So if we use the age and then use a map range, we know that these will last for 30 frames, so that we can now account for that. Basically saying, hey, where does the clipping start and clipping end? Which we can see it's already working, even though I need to customize it. So that starts out at like 0.7, and then it'll fade. The endpoints are still showing that they're being a bit weird, so I need to implement a gradient to account for that. So let's take the x gradient, and I will multiply this value by a map ranged version of that. So here, let's take a look at the gradient. Set between, we want the ends to be 0. So let's go and take a look at this. And then just make it so that it's right. Oh no, wait, I need a ping pong. Ping pong, just so that it's kind of mirrored at 0.5. So that both ends are doing that, and then we multiply that. Now we should see that the gradient. Yeah, this part being that big, I need to change up a little bit. But now we can see that at the very least, the ends are, yeah, okay. They're better. Not perfect by any means, but better. 0.1. Yeah, I'd say that's fine. And we're getting more of the effect I wanted, the kind of ethereal, almost smoky effect. It's actually working all right now. Took a while. Still needs work. That's all right. That's the goal. It just needs to be all right. And then I can animate the this, so that it's actually moving a bit. That could be cool. Let me get a value node in here, because the scene time node, they forgot to add it in the shader editor, so I need to implement it with a driver, #frame. And then we use a multiply node, vector math multiply, so that it will only affect one axis. Okay. So we can see that that is way too fast. Actually, let's divide instead, just so that it will be a little bit easier for me to set the speed it's going. There we go. We can see it's moving. Yeah, that's alright. Now let's try the lightning version of this effect again. Maybe red lightning. It's, I think it not being alpha blend is what is hurting this. So let's use an add node. And then maybe use a color ramp after. Oh god. Forgot about that. That's a problem. Since I made it for it to be clamped, so unclamping it is taking a little bit of getting used to. So here's it with a little bit of alpha. So if I set this to 0, it's alpha blended, so 0 isn't great. But blue and emissive. And then wait, for emissive things I need to use a power node. I'll probably not use this just because it's, as we can see, it's not that great. Come on. Is it working? The fall off is supposed to be better than this. Why? Oh, dang it. I had those flipped around the whole time. Is that... Oh, wait. Oh, dang it. Yeah, I messed up. I messed up. There we go. Now we can see. There we go. Okay. I might revert it to this one. This is starting to get a bit out of hand again. I'm forgetting to label, so I'm going to go and do that. This is animation. This is random. Random, that's UV map, UV. This is middle. Noise, self-explanatory, but that, and then this will be ends. There we go. And then this part is the shader. The messy parts are the research and development parts. So this is shaders. There we go. So now we can see it is working. It's working all right, but it could be better. Let's go back into here. I'm liking that better, if I'm being honest. Like here, if we set the, you know... Oh, wait, now I'm... This is the Legend of Zelda teleportation effect. Which I'm playing the Legend of Zelda music right now. That's interesting. That was partly well, I guess... That's interesting that I was kind of going for that effect this whole time. Kind of subconsciously. That's interesting. Okay, the ends are not connecting quite as much as I would like them to, but then we run the risk of it getting a bit too close. So let me just do that so that it's just... There we go. It needs tweaks and all that. Another fun thing is that if you move it, the things will not be attached to the person, which I was worried about. But I can fix it in theory. It would be a bit of a pain, but it would be possible. It would be possible. I can link every part, every endpoint, to a vertex on the mesh. And then it'll be bound completely, but it would just be the endpoints. But then I would have to basically pin the ends. That's too complicated. Too unnecessary for this effect. So I am just not gonna do it. Okay, dang it. I kind of wish I made it for the Alpha Blend version initially, but I was trying to do the spot. Something like the spot from Spider-Verse. At least a little bit. I mean, we change this back to opaque. Do that. Set that to 0. Switch this to a greater than. Oh, both of them are broken. Dang it. Little annoyed by that, if you can't tell. Wait, threshold? So, yeah, since I've been messing with the values... Oh wait, I changed it. Alpha clip, there we go. There we have it. And now I need to change this to greater than. Okay, it's still mostly intact. Despite my best efforts to wreck it, it's still intact. Okay. I was a bit worried. And for good reason. Okay, let's put this, have it be age. So both of these will work. That's a good thing. Let me swap these around so that the lines look a bit better. Let's move this back so that looks a bit better. The blocks. Always put your things into blocks. Okay, it's looking good. It's not the most seamless node setup I've ever made, but I think I could clean it up. Like, it's not the worst. Not the best, but definitely not the worst one I've ever made. Then we have, yeah, that kind of happening. Alright, not bad. So, what if I were to swap this out with a voronoi texture to make it so that there were voronoi, and I may need to edit this, put like a color ramp on it, because I think voronois will give me the opposite effect of what I want. Oh wait, I can see it working. So it's working, but just kind of in the opposite direction. It's giving me a very, oh, that's interesting. And again, the texture is scaling with how big the curve gets, which means that they'll look super cramped when they start out. As they progress, they get better. If I do this even more, we can see that it gives very harsh edges, which could look very, very cool. But in this case, I'm going to color ramp this so that it'll give us the sphere impression instead of the cutout. So there, it's much more like that. But it looks like I need to compensate for the average scale. That looks better in my head. Maybe it's the animation that's tripping me up. Like it's kind of working. And as we say, the vibe is off. Yeah, no, it's vibes off, man. Vibes off. Wait, if I do that, it starts looking better. Why? Oh, because the dots are actually showing up this time. It's alright, but not great. Let's go back to basics. I'll test that out. But here, it's, yeah, much more of what I intended. If I did want to make this more of a spot effect, let's go and put some dots in this one. Then I'll have to mix them with more dots. Let's mix them with more. There we go. So now we have something, you know. And those would need to be animated and all that, but it's good. Alright, maybe 2.5. I don't plan on keeping it, I just want to see how it would look in that scenario. Like, I would have to add, this is just one effect. But if I want more effects, like maybe having, you know, actual, like we have the Ethereal Wisps, that's what I'll call it. We have the Ethereal Wisps, then we would have some of the actual spots being spawned in. So yeah, this isn't too bad. Like, the mesh looks atrocious, but the final result doesn't look half bad, so I'm happy with it. Then I could just, if I really wanted to, just make the character... Nope, that contrast is 100% needed. It works, so I'm happy. Yeah, maybe I should save this. I could just go in. Actually, changing this part would be better to make it thicker at the beginning, but the end would have to be the other way. So it'll be as thick as possible at the beginning, and then that. It doesn't look as good. Like, it feels like I'm still battling the, like it doing that at the end. So maybe, let's go into the GeoNode editor. Instead of it happening like that, let's make it a little more eased. Just by a little. Yeah, just so that it's not quite as... I could just use a color ramp and it would be better. But yeah. Also, reducing the radius to make it more in line. But I want to see how crazy I can make the effect. Because this is crazy enough. But what if I wanted it even crazier? I could give all of these a random age. That could be interesting. Let's add in more of these. We can see that the sim is chugging right now. Yeah, it's having a great... That's actually too many vertices. We don't need that many. 50? Yeah, okay, no. That 50 spline vertices was more than enough. But here we can see, like, oh, if the character's getting angry, the feels, you know, it's doing... It's a more aggressive effect. But maybe we don't need more, because I think that's the perfect density right there. I think what we need, if we want to turn this up, is to literally turn that. Oh, that's cool. That's interesting. Then, yeah, yep. Okay, so now we have an expressive emotive version of it. And here we can make it so that it's more of a sludge falling down from the character. Well, that's cool. It's like the evil is falling off of him. Implement wind. So if the character is running, again, it won't attach to the mesh perfectly. Or at all in this case, which is a shame. Which I could implement, but that would make this even bigger. And in case you've forgotten, that's the node tree. It's not small. Oh, and we're almost at an hour. This is actually going pretty well. But yeah, I think the effect I like the most is it going up a little bit, but also, you know, it being able to go crazy. Now, this could be very useful, because these kinds of ribbon effects, like I've seen it in The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, and for like the teleportation effect, I've seen that, but this gives a very ethereal feel. Like this also kind of looks like when Spot from Spider-Verse has that effect, except his are delayed, which I could implement, and that could look pretty cool. So what if I did a sneaky little double sim? So, okay, the effect is done. I'm happy with it. It could use some cleanup, but let's go, now that since we're close to an hour, we're going to the post effects. What would happen if I blank? So what if I had a second simulation with the second age value? Let's see what happens. So in this case, I bring you into here, so it's a relative, and that, oh wait, I need to label the sims and put them in their own custom collection. Sim. Here we go. So yes, the effect, it's basically done at this point. Uh-oh. What'd I do? Okay, I didn't break anything, it's just the cache being weird. So if we set this to instance, then join this into the geometry, it will hopefully optimize this quite a bit. Oh, dang it. Oh, our materials on... Yep. That's why I can't make proper trail, like mesh trail effects with GeoNodes because they broke the materials in the beta. So if I wanted to do this with the mesh with custom materials that I like multiple materials, I just couldn't do it. Which is a little very annoying. So close, but not quite. Alright, let's select the other sim, which I need to make it so that this will delete. This is just for trails on trails, which, again, I'm just testing. Greater than 4. I'll only store 4 of them. So here we can see it is being delayed. How long until it starts complaining? So I'm going to make it so that each version progressively gets thinner. And since it's the same material, I should be able to do that. I think all that's done. But let me turn up. Where's the cache? Oh, cache, where are you? There we go. Turn off the cache because it is more performance without it. Okay, shader editor. I'm not going to keep this. Just to let you know, it's just for testing and experimentation, and just because it might look cool. So if I get age 1, let's see. Is it showing up? It is not. That's because I need to switch this to instancer. There we go. Now we can see it's happening. So now, that's a cool effect. But now I'm going to add it into this so that we can make it fade not only by the age, but also by the, which part of the trail it's on, which is extracurricular activity. But I want to try it. 5? No, 7. So we can see here now. There we go, okay. It's a little disappointing. I was hoping for something a little bit cooler than that. If I used Alpha Blend, it would be better. But I'm not gonna worry about that. It just makes things needlessly complicated. When I could just make, a different kind of trail system. Okay, that unnecessary part out of the way. Let's go and try the actual lightning version of this. Alpha Blend. Here we go. Or, the ethereal stuff. The Legend of Zelda teleportation. I set that to 0. Then it gives an effect like that, which some people may want. Like that almost looks like data for some reason. And I could make that data. Set that to 0, then we just get a nice ribbon effect, which, again, some people may want. But what if I did use data? So let's use a voronoi texture again. Set it to 2D, set the randomness to 0. And then just input the color. So this will give us a very different effect. Now again, since the crisscross is happening, it'll give us an interesting look. I'm okay with that for now. It's not... It doesn't feel like data to me. That's giving... Yeah, still not data. Yeah, no, let's go back to the noise. I do like the Void version better. But that one ain't too bad. Alpha Clip. Actually, wait, since when did Alpha Blend? Wait a second, that must have changed because I thought Alpha Blend couldn't do dark objects. I thought it could only add to the scene. Interesting. So that could be a version of the effect. But I do like the harsh cutoff, not gonna lie. No, that's not too bad. It's a different vibe, but that almost feels like... Yeah, I kind of like that. Gives, a kind of ink feeling. With it being semi-transparent. Interesting. More testing is required, and we are almost at 1 hour, so I'll go and start winding down the stream. That's interesting. That is very interesting. Like, all these values are messed up. Like, this should be set to, like, 0.5. As we can see, messed up. Yep. So let me try to adjust this. Hopefully I don't get the vibe wrong again. Uh-huh. Interesting. So I fixed that part, but the other part doesn't feel right. Something's wrong. That's set to 1. So if it's set to 1, that happens. But that means if it's greater than 1, which means that if I do use a color ramp, it'll be messed up. Then when that's set to 0.5, that has to be in the negative. Huh. It's fine. It's fine. Then we have that part. Which that just needs to... Nope, that's fine either way. Oh wait, should this be multiplied instead of added? 1 and then 0. I think that may give... Yeah, no, that gives a wrong effect. Like, it's not bad. But with it being added, it's a much more linear version. Even though with this one, it's interesting how it... Interesting. But yeah, add's the way to go. And I could also make it so that it'll fade from the middle before everywhere else. Which could be cool. I may try that. So many... With this, it feels like there's so many things to try. Which is good whenever you make an effect. It's like, oh, I should try this, or oh, I should try that. So, in that vein of trying, I'm going to pull you from there and see if I can implement that kind of scaling over time. So that... Yeah, let's implement it here. So that the middle, its time will be sooner than everything else. In theory. So, let's see, let's set this to 0 and 0.5. 0 and... Middle happens first, right? Let's set to 0. Uh-oh. Oh no, okay. I was worried that wasn't working. Is it working right? Let's see. Let's make sure that this is correct. This will add... Okay, so the top one will add to this. So if I make it so that the middle will fade 10 frames faster than everything else... Oh, but that doesn't go all the way down. Intriguing. Wait. Yeah, no. Back to basics. Back to what we know, because that was not working. And the end result didn't even... It didn't look too great, if I'm being honest. That's making it fade, but it is... All about tweaking it so that it looks just right. But that's a difficult thing. It'll never be just right. And then for lighting this guy, it'll, that's going to be a trip and a half. Because how do you light... How should I light a guy in a white... a guy who's completely white and maybe a white void? Like, maybe it should be a different color. but darker, but that makes everything else... Oh, wait a second. I'm forgetting. I could just go and do what's happening here, where, you know, the surrounding area is one color, but the visual background is another. Solar flare? Oh yeah, that could be a solar flare. Let's go and put you back here. Actually, I've wanted to make a solar flare effect for quite a while. And I need to move you so that you are correct. So yeah, let's try the solar flare. Like another thing to make the fall off look even... Ooh, that's looking good. Yeah, that's looking like a solar flare. I have ways to make it look even better. To make the fall off look... That's pretty good. I'm just gonna... Since this is working out so well, it took an hour, which isn't bad for an effect from scratch. I'm gonna try more. To make the fall off, I have a interesting setup. To make a very interesting fall off effect. In my opinion, it looks the best. Like, the power method is the simplest. But this method is not half bad. Gives slightly crisper results. So I'm going to try it. I need to put in the minimum. It needs, you know, quite a few nodes, so that's why I tried doing it the simplest way first. But let's see if this gives a better result. And if so, I'll keep it. Okay. And for this, it needs a different fade. So let me separate these two. So that it'll be more like that. More like that. Maybe ease. It's kind of working. Kind of, but not quite there. And of course these gradients are messed up because of my previous setup. There we go. There we go. It looks like you are not working as intended. Yeah, that's... Let's see, I can change how much that's being eased. Okay, well, I want the core to be like that. Since this setup wasn't made for it, I'm not sure. And let's set this to none. Actually, let's see how this looks in cycles. Watch this crash. Actually, I'm going to copy that object just in case it crashes. It's looking pretty good. Like, throwing some bloom and the interactive lighting, it's just great. Could you add in the black body values to the edge? Not a navy. Though here, the age is not fading off as intended. I'd have to do that. So it would be like, oh, it's strong, and then... Wait a second, why did it get so much more powerful? Or more testing required. So it'll be... Yeah, okay, yeah, that makes sense. So here, wow, it doesn't last long. But you do get to see that kind of effect happening. So maybe I just need to make them last for longer, just so that we can see the wispiness in full. Let's set this to 25. Or 20. So they spend a third of their lives dying. But then I could put in more noise to see how that affects everything. I should really save this in the good state. So, let me go and hook this back up to here. Where are you? There you go. So here we can see. That's fine. And then switching that, let's go and change these values. Then change it so that at the end of the life. Okay, that's good. Still feels a little bit odd. Something doesn't feel quite right. Oh, duh. Wrong thing. Okay, still feels a little bit too thick. Which actually may be what I want because I plan on thinning it. But I can just change it until it feels right. So I could make it like that. Actually, one thing that I'm not sure I like is that I think since the random values are all using the same scene time input, some of this feels a little bit synced up. It's probably fine. Alright, right, save. Save as. Let's go, and this is, where are the sim projects? Here we go. So this will be 3.6 sim, let's see, what, ethereal wisps. Here we go. That conveys what's happening just fine. Let's plug this back into here. Again, I need to test what's better, this fall off or the power fall off for this scenario. Because it's all on a case-by-case basis. 0.15. Like, the kind of unfortunate thing is... So, a few things. Problem one, twisting. If I used the set normal node and all that, set curve normal and set just minimum twist, it would get rid of that, but it would make it so that it would, the entire spline would spin if the vector goes wrong. Which means it would be nice if we could set our own custom normal for this. But that doesn't seem to be, like, if I really wanted to, I could implement that by I could implement that manually by offsetting, set my own normal for the curve, and then offset the geometry that's all centered on the spline by using like the curve parameters and such. It would be possible. It would just be a big headache to do. And then to do like what they do in games, make it face towards the camera, that would be another hassle. But that's a hassle for another time. In this case, it's fine. A little bit glitching. Ooh. Cool. Set it to 1. Oh, that's good. Don't you just love it when you work on a project and all of a sudden you're like, well, that's actually good, man. That actually looks all right. Yeah, let's test more. Because I can always revert to the other version because I actually saved it this time. So let's go and bump it up. It's not quite as cool like that. I still have the normal value. So let me set this to 0. Oh. Yeah, that's a bit much, I will say. Oh, and we're out of music. Rewind. So here we can see what more of a solar flare effect would be. 0.5. Which isn't bad whatsoever. And actually, this is more stable than without simulation nodes, because I have tried making this without simulation nodes. And when the mesh would move and stuff like that, whoops, and when the mesh would move, it would all just really glitch out. While here, you know, it gets left behind, but I could make it so that's pinned to the object. But that would need more physics to make it, you know, not look weird, so that when you would move it, it actually pulls the rest of it towards it. So, again, that would need more math, but for this, it's not bad. Like, I need to work on the shaders so that actually connects more. So that the curve kind of overextends. But again, more math. Who wants to do more math? 0.05? I could change this to be a bit less. I just want to connect enough. Like, okay, if I wanted to, I could just get rid of that. And then in the geometry node editor, if I really wanted to, I could just do this. So that it will connect. It has to. But that kind of looks a little bit dorky. Not terribly dorky, but just a little bit. But it does connect. It's not too bad. Maybe like that. Then making these a bit thinner should be fine. Like here, I'm missing the noise. We needed more noise in this particular version. Just enough. Just enough. 0.05. Maybe around 10. Not bad. Not bad at all. And then if I keep upping it, that's just a cool visualizer right there. So many things are possible with just a simple ribbon generator. Oddly enough, I haven't seen this used. That's cool. I haven't seen this, like, this style being used too much in games. I've seen ribbon effects. Kind of like this, but not quite. And then more noise. Like, again, if I wanted to, 150, even though that's a little bit overkill. Like, that should be done in the shader, rather than in the main thing, which I could do. 0.2. Like, the easing pattern here is still a bit weird. That gives a different vibe. It's all about getting the vibe right, man. The vibe needs to be right. That gives kind of a more curved feel. There's that. But once people see that, they'll be asking me for 15 flash effects, which I'm not too keen on doing. Alright, I guess this is a good place to leave it. A good effect. Doing its job pretty much perfectly at this point. Ironed out all the bugs, most of the bugs. It just needs a good pass of making this cleaner, more optimized, smaller. Then, who knows, maybe it could be a product. Who knows? Maybe. But future versions should have the connected parts so that will follow along the mesh, still being attached. Other than that, this is pretty good. I should probably try it on non-human objects as well. So, Sphere. How does it look on Sphere? A little bit laggy because this is the high res version. Not bad, not bad. If you ever wanted, you know, the sun solar flares, which you could make better, like, for better solar flares, they would have to expand outwards, which I could do, most likely. Like, they would start smaller, but then they would bow out, and then bow out. The top of it would be repelled against it, and then the two sides would fly away from each other. So, the vector of the wind should be the normal. Yep, I do have that. So it could be just cool little visualizers and all that. Yeah, many effects are doable like this. Then I could also always turn off the random offset so that you can get something like this, which is, you know, pretty cool. Alright, that'll be it for today. Thank you all for watching this live stream. Turned out pretty well. Pretty well, I'd say. We got the effect done. Several versions that I'll be playing around with. We'll see which one I post. But thank you all for watching, and I will see you next time.